All right, y'all. You know how Steppin Marcus J is live. We are in the building for another great show. Very, very happy and excited to bring you Ain't No Half Step with Marcus J. We got a very, very special interview tonight with the co-founder of Joe Pre Consulting LLC. Miss Priscilla Pender is going to join us here in the show tonight to tell us about the soft launch and networking event that they will be having this weekend to commemorate the founding of their company. So we're looking forward to that. We're going to ask what the hell is going on in Kentucky. SY is going to ask us, did they just say that? And of course, Big Rube is here with the round table. We got a lot to get into tonight, and we ain't going to waste no time. Ain't no how stepping Marcus J right now.
Yeah. It's about that time. It's about that time to get. Yeah.
Button your lip, open your ears, strap on your thinking cap. Socially conscious talk that's entertaining with a dash of humor and the top sports stories of the week. It's time for Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J.
Sellers has Jordan. Jordan with 2 seconds to go. Puts it up and scores at the buzzer. Michael Jordan has won it for Chicago. Manning lobs it. Burris alone. Touchdown, New York.
Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. He hits one deep to right center. That ball is out of here. The Yankees win the pennant.
If they lying, then you must be half stepping. You know, half stepping. Marcus J is live. We are here in the building. Be down with us by calling 804-402-2893 to be a part of the flagship show. Heard live right here from the den of Legacy Internet Radio every single Monday night, 7 p.m. live. We appreciate you folks checking in with us. You are listening to us on your smartphone or your tablet or your iPhone on the TuneIn application. You have searched Legacy Internet Radio and you have saved that station on your phone. Hopefully you telling other people how to find the flagship show, Legacy Internet Radio, as well as all of our programming here on Legacy Internet Radio. Thank you to everybody who was listening to the replays of the show on YouTube. Got a lot of love for you guys going back and checking out the prior show. So got the salutations out. Our show, of course, is sponsored by Live Action Captions as well as Free Spirit Enterprises. We'll have a word from each of those sponsors as we progress throughout the show. Got a lot to get into. Teased it a little bit at the top. We're very, very excited and honored to have Miss Priscilla Pender join us on the show and later on here tonight. She is the co-founder of Joe Pre Consulting LLC. They are going to be having their soft launch and networking and fashion event this weekend, and so we're very, very happy and honored to talk with Priscilla about that and get some information for the folks in the East Orange and Newark and Jersey City and Union City and my hometown. So I'm looking forward to putting on Miss Priscilla Pender on the show later on. Of course, we're going to ask what the hell. We'll start off the show with that. That's why I was going to ask us, did they just say that? I don't know what the hell she's going to have us doing. She said that I would laugh. I want to laugh. She didn't want to give me any information. I said, well, you going to give me something? She wouldn't give me nothing. So I'm going to learn like y'all. So we're looking forward to that, as well as the round table. We'll end the show with Big Rube with the round table. Whenever we have him on the first Monday, that's what he does, and we're looking forward to it. So without any further ado, I will introduce my co-host for the night, and y'all know him as Big Rube.
Yo.
I said y'all know him as Big Rube.
Yo.
What's up, man?
No, man, just chilling.
It's good to see you, brother.
Same here, same here. Glad to be here on another day on the planet.
Another day on the planet. You could actually have been on the moon.
I could have, but since there's no air up there, I probably wouldn't last too long.
You think you would like die?
Slightly.
Or slightly die?
Slightly.
Maybe burn up before you got there?
You know, that's just...
Do you think they have spacesuits to fit Big Rube?
Of course.
You think they can make that happen?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a little tough for me. That's why they pump oxygen so I can breathe. They just kick it up enough.
So it'd be snug around the waistband.
No, it'd be tight as hell.
Hell, so damn snug. With Doug, the nice little cutesy words, it'd just be tight as hell.
Yeah, it'd be tight as hell.
My brother, you know how Steppin Marcus J. I know you well enough to know that you watched basketball over the weekend. And, congratulations to the Duke University Blue Devils, and congratulations to Wisconsin, whose mascot is escaping me. But
Badgers.
The Badgers. This is a what the hell, and I know we like to say the top sports stories of the week, but I usually try to make sure that when we talk about sports on the show, Big Rube, that we find some sort of socially conscious angle to reach our listeners, because that's what we do here. So there's a couple of things. First off, Kentucky lost the game. They actually played a rematch of last year's semifinal game. I believe it was. Same team, Wisconsin. Kentucky won last year. Wisconsin won this year. So that was a big deal. It's also a big deal because Kentucky was 38-0, I believe. They were looking to become one of the first, basketball teams in college in many years to have an undefeated season, culminating with the national championship. That didn't happen. And the people in Kentucky were not very happy about that. I'm getting this first article from the New York Post. 31 rioting Kentucky fans were arrested after fights and after having set fires. This is what the Lexington, Kentucky Police Department says that happened after the Wildcats 71-64 Final Four loss to the Wisconsin Badgers. That's their name. Police spokeswoman Sherelle Roberts says that following the game Saturday night, about 1,500 fans spilled into a State Street neighborhood adjacent to the university's Lexington campus. She said police dressed in tactical gear allowed fans to mingle, but removed anyone who they said became disobedient. She was throwing pepper balls and all kinds of stuff to break up the fights. Rube, you have known me many years, and you have had conversations with me many times. You know me well enough to know that I get real mad when the news wants to make sure that we know about all of the large gatherings of black people that act a damn fool. And here we have this situation where you got these folks that are rioting after a sporting event. They mad. They so mad they out there tearing up shit and burning up stuff and flipping cars, and 31 people get arrested. I didn't hear nothing about no fatalities, though. I ain't hear about no cops killing nobody. You know what I mean? Let's talk about it. What you think, man?
I mean,
am I being sensitive?
It is University of Kentucky. It's just one of those things that it reminds me of West Virginia, because when West Virginia will win a big game in football, they tear up Morgantown. Hold on, first of all, how you win? You tear up your own city first, and I'm not trying to side way out of that, but it's like how you win a big game and you tear up your own, you throw your own couches, you beat up your own cars. But that's a question for West Virginia another time. Now Kentucky, they lost, and they lost by 7 points, and they lost to a better team. But Dad, really, you gotta blow up your own place? I mean, now you're right. There are no fatalities. Why? Because I'm just going to put it out there. It's Kentucky.
It's Kentucky.
And it's not a lot of black people in Kentucky, Now,
is it a black thing?
That black people get shot?
I'm asking you.
That people get shot in riots? I mean, I think sometimes they feel like, some people may feel scared because, black people apparently like to just tear up stuff. But as we just saw, white people like to tear up stuff too.
It's funny, when black people riot, it's usually over social issues. It's usually over police brutality. It's usually over things like that. We ain't rioting because the Yankees won the World Series.
We ain't rioting because Grambling lost a football game.
You don't see them in Jackson Ward wilding out because Union lost CIAA.
First of all,
you know what I'm saying? You don't see them, on Kennedy Boulevard in Jersey City because Snyder High School couldn't get the victory that they wanted to get. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Usually if you see us in Jackson Ward or if you see us in Journal Square, it's usually because the cops done crack somebody's head.
Yeah, of course.
So anyway, Ain't No Steppin with Marcus J is pleased and honored. We weren't expecting this, but we're definitely happy to look across the table and see the lead man of the listening party. You hear him every single Thursday night. We got our brother Reeves is up in the building. What's up, man?
Yo, what's happening, man? Cooling, man.
It's good to see you, man. I tell you, when I looked up and saw you walk in, I was like, "Word, we got to pop in." This is what I'm talking about. This is how we do it here at Legacy Internet Radio. Now I know you listening to the discussion. You got any comments on what we talking about here, man?
Yeah, man. It's actually crazy. It's been going on for years. You know that they've been tearing up their community,
right?
You know, and the cops sit by, they might make their arrests or whatever, but I doubt that they have any intentions on using, you know, deadly force on any of those individuals because they know they're kids.
Right.
But when they look at us, they see us as a threat.
Right.
You know, and that's why, basically, I think, you know, we get the other end of the stick, you know, to put it.
Every time I see these stories where they act up over a sporting event, it's usually like hockey or something. They out there burning up, you know, stuff. And Ruben mentioned the chairs. What's the deal? I mean, you know, people tell me I'm a race baiter when I actually try to lay out some sort of facts. Am I being sensitive? No, I mean, I know that we brothers, not just in the sense of, you know, communal family type stuff, but brothers as in black men. So
I get labeled the same way, man, you know, because I pay attention to issues like that, you know, they really concern me.
Right.
And I feel like people should be concerned about it. You know, they're mostly concerned with things that don't really add up to a hill of beans,
right.
You know what I mean? But the real issues, they try to turn the other cheek. You know, I can't sit by just idly and just watch it go on without saying anything.
Right.
At least, you know.
Right. You get a lot of people who they don't miss Basketball Wives and Keisha Cole, but they ain't trying to watch the news or they're not trying to have a discussion. They tell you and me and Big Rube that we're too serious. Another piece that I want to add to this, Ruben knows where I'm going. Another piece I want to add to this, we work in a radio station and we know what it's like when the mics is hot and we don't want them to be hot. Every once in a while, you know, hopefully we don't get caught saying anything that we shouldn't say, but it's possible. Because, you know, you relax a little bit when you realize that the mics are cold, so to speak. Well, Andrew Harrison was not one who had that in mind when he whispered under his breath on a hot mic. Now, just kind of set it up. This was after the game, the Kentucky game, and Andrew Harrison is a player on Kentucky Wildcats. And one of his teammates was asked a question about the player on the other team. The other player on the other team is a white man by the name of Frank Kaminsky. Once I said Kaminsky, I think you probably would have guessed he was a white man. Anyway, when the interviewer asked him about, not the guy I'm talking about, but the guy sitting next to him, about Frank Kaminsky, Harrison muttered, quote, "F that N-word," end quote, into a live microphone. His comment, you know, of course, has since gone viral, and there has been a lot of discussion with regards to it. Now, there's a lot of different angles that I can take on this. My wheels are turning, but I want to know what you think, Reeves, and I'm going to get Ruben's opinion here in a minute. The fact that this black man said F that N-word about a white dude and got caught in a hot mic and has now had to apologize. Any feelings? And you can go anywhere you want with that.
I mean, because I grew up with it, to where the N-word turned into anyone that was male. The N-word was anybody Chinese and a man, or, you know, anybody. That's what it's developed into. And it's crazy that we've just been called that and dealt with that word so long that it's just flows out of us, you know.
What's your opinion of, and you know, I've known you for a little while, and you know, there's one thing that we haven't actually talked about. Not that it comes, I don't go around probing everybody. Hey, what do you think of the N-word? You know, so I've never actually asked you, and it's a big deal with me. I made a personal choice not to use it, even though I grew up using it. Most people in our age group have grown up using it. So I'll be no hypocrite. I used to say it all the time. I just made a choice not to. What's your opinion of the word? Are you okay with black people using it or not using it?
I mean, I'm okay with them if it depends on their level of awareness.
Okay.
You know, it's okay. You know, when I hear them, it's not okay, but I understand when I hear them use it. But I choose not to use it as well. It might slip out every now and then. I'm not gonna front. You know, when I'm being unconscious.
Okay.
Rather, you know.
When you're in the moment or something like that.
Yeah, in a moment and dealing with certain people, you know, it might come out every now and then. But I consciously choose not to use that word.
That's what I was looking for, one way or another. So you say, I ain't saying it, and every once in a while it slip out. And, you know, in the interest of full disclosure, I've told this story before. I made a choice years ago not to use it, and one day I got so fired up that it slipped out of me, and this was just a few months ago. Now I was pretty annoyed with myself for allowing myself to be, you know, that I don't want to say weak because I don't want to overstate it. It's not that serious, but for me to be so, you know, against it, for it to have slipped out of my mouth, I was pretty frustrated with myself.
Yeah, but it's embedded so deep.
Yeah.
Into the fiber of your culture. I say that.
Well, I think that the fact that it is part of the problem. Ruben, what you think on the subject? And I agree with you, Reeves, by the way.
I mean, yeah, I don't use it. You know, I'm one of those as well that it slips out accidentally. You know, usually slips out in one or two ways, unfortunately. If I'm listening to music and I'm kind of too hyped and I know the words and it slips out that way, that happens to me. Or I'm way too comfortable, depending on who I'm around. But then again, in that situation, there are not many people in my life that use the word to the point that I would even use it back. Like my parents, my family really don't use it. You know, I think I can count on how many times on my hand that I've ever heard, on one hand, that I've ever heard my dad ever use that word. And that's usually like in the heat of the moment, probably. But in regular talk, my family doesn't really talk that way.
Let me throw out the question, because Reeves, you kind of alluded to it when you said that it has become part of the culture where a lot of people use that word just when they're referring to a male.
Yeah.
That's how Reeves feels about it. I somewhat understand where he's going with it. Ruben, what do you think about the fact that you have a black man referring to a white man as that? And the reason why I'm asking that, let's flip it and say it's Kaminsky sitting there and he's referring to Harrison and the same words are used. Are we having this conversation in this way, or are we outraged and are we wanting to, you know, protest and act a little bit crazy?
Not at all.
Well, I think some black people will be up in arms. Me, not so much. But I mean, overall, you know, I was like off air. I was telling you a story about one of my friends who is Caucasian, who played basketball, and you know, he went. You know, they played a team which was probably about either 95 to 100% white back in high school, and they called him the N-word. You know, I guess in warm-ups or whatnot. You know, and you know, I grew up in Petersburg, so you know, this gentleman is like the only Caucasian guy on the basketball team. So it's just like, you know, those white people felt comfortable of calling him that word, which is insane to me, really. You know, but I mean, as far as using the word, I mean, using it with other men, whatever. One, that's a cop out, in my opinion. Two, I think the Harrison kid was completely wrong. You know, if you really want to take it a different way, which I've recently thought about, maybe he wasn't talking about Kaminsky, but apparently he was because he called him. How about he may have been talking to the reporter? Because in the way it was done, the reporter asked Towns a question, and then he, you know, under his breath with his mouth closed, but forgetting that the mics are good, he said, F that, and he might have been talking to the reporter.
But don't you think, I mean, and you said this off the air, you know, we don't always let the listeners know about the conversations that we have when we're doing show prep. But you said off the air, this happened just a week ago when the guy
From Wisconsin.
Yeah, when the guy saw the reporter, he says, man, she's beautiful.
And that should have told him that these mics are good.
He got picked up on a hot mic saying that, and they kind of made fun of him in social media for that. You know, I mean,
honestly, if it was me, first of all, my biggest issue with this, not an issue, but, dude, you play for Kentucky, which is back in the day, one of the biggest Confederate states in the Confederacy, number one. And number two, one of the highest poverty rates in the country. And number three, which is very, very Republican, a.k.a. they don't necessarily like a whole lot of black people. Just putting it out there. I'm not saying they all feel that way, but unfortunately the socialized makeup of Kentucky is not really positive on black people. And for you to be a black male, to play at this university, which is probably mostly Caucasian, and then for you to say something like that live, I mean, to me, that makes you look like a complete idiot, number one.
Yeah.
You know,
I think that brother probably was just being himself. You know what I mean? He didn't have any conscious thing behind what he said. You know, he was acting out of emotion.
Right.
And just like he would say F anybody else, right. You know,
it just happened to be
it just happened to be him.
And if he was a freshman, I probably would roll with you on that.
But you know what, though? You got to remember, Ruben, when you talk about freshmen and sophomores, we talk about a year, 2 years difference. So I don't know that I would say just because he's a freshman, I would roll with that. But I think Reese is on to something. I want you to address this. When he says that young people just talk that way. You know what I mean? Like,
that's what it's developed into.
Right.
Because I've seen it come around full circle, like from being a child, and that was actually fighting words.
It's for me, it still
and
is.
Then, and then it becoming a term of endearment, and now I despise it again.
Right.
After gaining knowledge or becoming enlightened,
right.
You know,
right,
and educated on what the word actually means and how it's affected us as a people.
I think you really made a great point, Ruben. I know you disagree, so I'll give you a chance to address this last piece before we move on. When you said that's how people refer to males, you know what I mean?
That's how our people,
particularly our younger people.
Yeah,
that's how they.
Exactly.
I think I tend to agree with that. Ruben, you don't agree with that? You don't see that?
I mean, I see that. I would say that you would never call a female that. By any,
and every other word.
Yeah, they call them every other word, but that word.
It on.
But I guess my thing is,
and girls call each other that.
Yeah, which is crazy to me.
As a term of endearment.
Yeah, I think that's crazy
these days.
You know, but I just feel like, I guess what I was saying is, this isn't his first rodeo in front of a mic. You know, he's one of the stars of the team, so he's always in front of microphones at the end of the game. And I understand it was emotional, but I can't forgive a slip-up like that, knowing full well that, dude, you're on stage, you're talking. Regardless of how great these mics are, they teach you not to say things that could be used against you. And to me, this is one of those things that could have been used against him, that can be used against him. I mean, I'm glad he's probably going to end up going pro, because I don't know how Calipari can keep this. I don't see it.
I mean, it's people that they traffic through those colleges, man. They don't even never really get the true education from the college.
Yeah, which is a completely different situation.
They end up in the NBA somewhere and can barely read.
Yeah.
Well, we met
Moses.
What's the football player? We played for Dallas or Washington?
You talking about Ricky?
Dexter Mann, was it?
Dexter Manley, yeah.
Yeah, when we was coming up. Ain't no how Steppin with Marcus J. Keeping with some sports, Ruben. Josh Hamilton. He is a all-star outfielder for the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. He is a all-star with a great future that he can't seem to keep his eye on because that cocaine and that heroin keeps grabbing a hold of him. Reason why we're talking about this story, just to kind of give our listeners who are not sports fans, this is not necessarily a sports story, it's more of a social one, but wanted to bring this up. Josh Hamilton was drafted by the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, Rays now, but Devil Rays at the time, and he spent 3 years out of baseball because he was homeless and a crackhead, literally, after he had gotten drafted. So let me set that up again. He was a great ball player, great enough to get drafted into Major League Baseball, and he basically threw it away because he couldn't stop doing drugs. He got himself together. He ended up in Texas playing with the Rangers, and he had a shadow whose job it was to stay with them. They only let him have $20 in his pocket, even though he was making multi-millions. Texas apparently had it figured out, and he didn't have any issues when he was there. He signed a free agent contract to go to the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Apparently they didn't have it figured out because he has since fallen off the wagon, and he admitted to it. He admitted to the team that he has started doing drugs again. There was a panel, 2 people from the Players Association and 2 people from the Major League Baseball, deadlocked 2-2. An independent arbiter broke the tie and decided that Josh Hamilton would not be suspended because of his positive drug test. Now, I personally got a huge problem with that, because we know that if you use HGH or you smoke a little weed, it might be a problem with you. So, Ruben, I want you up first. Josh Hamilton will see no consequences for being a crackhead. And I said that in a cold-blooded way on purpose, because there are some that will call you a weed head. So, what you got?
I mean, this is the first time he is not. This isn't the first time he's been caught. He clearly has a problem. I think that the punishment should be, yo, you need to clean yourself up before you come back. And if that means that you need to kick him out indefinitely until he goes through the program to clean himself up, then that's what you need to do. I just think that, you know, the fact that he gets a pass because he has a problem is stupid to me, because what kind of precedent is that setting? Basically saying, hey, if I say I'm addicted to something, even though I did punishment, you know, and I say I'm addicted, then I still get to play. No, you get to serve your time in a rehab facility. Because when it's all said and done, it's not about baseball. It's about life. And to me, this is baseball is basically saying, you know what? We want you to play. We want you to make us money. You know, stay a crackhead.
What you think, Reese? You a sports fan, man?
Somewhat.
Yeah,
somewhat.
Basically, the league has decided that they are not going to discipline him based upon his substance abuse, and the list of substances that can get you suspension is inconclusive, meaning there's things that are added to it all the time. Marijuana is on it, you know, cocaine, heroin.
Anything illegal is definitely on it.
Yeah, anything illegal. Even though we know marijuana is legal. If you play for the Colorado Rockies and you get caught with weed in your system, you're probably going to have a problem. But this guy's not going to have any consequences. What you think about that, man?
Is he white?
Yes.
Okay. That's one of the bottom lines right there.
Yeah.
Because if it would have been one of our athletes, he would have been suspended.
The only thing I'll say to that, I'm not sure that I agree quite with that.
Unless it was a major superstar.
A lot of them do get suspended. I'm not sure that I agree with that, but what I will kind of present to you and tell me what you think about this. Do we have a tolerance level for some drugs versus others? For example, powdered cocaine, which is what we know that he's doing, has a certain way that it's looked at versus marijuana, versus, you know, and I guess kind of in a roundabout way it does become black and white, because ain't too many brothers sniffing no coke, at least not 2015.
Cost too much.
You know, but they're going to smoke some weed versus HGH and things like that. I mean, you stand firm? You think it's a black and white? That simple?
I think it's like, you know, kind of like a coke and crack type of thing,
right?
You know,
now I've said
one
that,
is more tolerated.
I've said this before.
Acceptable.
Tell me what you think about that, because I've said some things. Tell the listeners the difference.
Because I don't know, because you see, like, coke uses more like, you know, prestigious people. They can afford it. You know, it doesn't appear to do you as bad as it does with the crack. Crack is more associated with the dirty, you know, and the more impoverished, like a cheap type of high that black people are associated with.
Right.
But it's doctors and lawyers and athletes that use cocaine and, you know, entertainers. So it's looked at as more socially acceptable.
I'm glad that you said that because I've kind of, I've had my way with the argument of cocaine versus crack. And I feel like that I've kind of spoken it to death. And so to hear someone else kind of articulate it in a way similar to me, but different. And you and I are 100% in line with our feelings on that. At the end of the day, I do think that there's some issues with regards to how the problem is viewed. You know, if I smoke some weed and I get caught, I just happen to smoke some weed. I can't necessarily be addicted to marijuana, and I'm speaking as the athlete. Whereas if I'm, you know, I got a lifelong issue with cocaine, I can get pass after pass after pass. I remember coming up, I'm a Yankees fan. I've been one since 1981, and I remember there was a player called Steve Howe who had gotten suspended literally 7 times before they lifetime banned him. 7 over cocaine. 7 times before they lifetime banned him. Something up with that, you know, and I think
looking like Darryl Strawberry,
Dwight Gooden. Yeah. No, we know what happened to them. They had. I'm glad you said that, Reese, because now it might just be something where we can look and see if it's your demographic. Because I remember I grew up in the area, and I remember Dwight and Darryl being suspended for cocaine.
Yeah.
And Bobby too, right? Bobby Bonilla.
I think Bobby Bonilla got a suspension. Darryl and Dwight were lucky because, of course, they were Mets, but they got that second chance from George Steinbrenner, and after they got that, for the most part, they did okay. But no, you might be on to something. May not have Steppin, Marcus J. Live from the Den of Legacy Internet Radio. We appreciate those folks that are listening to us live on TuneIn, as well as those folks that are listening to the replays on YouTube. Another thing I want to get to, Reese, I want you up on this one first, my brother. This one is about Chris Rock. Chris Rock, we know who he is. We know that he is a comic, well-known. Ain't too many people can see Chris Rock and not know who he is. Well, Chris Rock had been pulled over by police 3 times since February. So what's this, April? So 3 times in the last 3 months, basically. And he has blogged about it every time. He took a selfie and put it on IG, literally with the cop lights behind him as the police officer. You heard about that. What I want to bring up, well, first of all, Chris Rock, I mean, we can do a whole segment about how crazy that they want to pull over Chris Rock. We can talk about the story where Chris Rock was riding in an outrageously expensive sports car with Jerry Seinfeld in New Jersey, and the police pulled the car over, and they pulled him over and walked over to the passenger side of the car. They didn't walk up to the driver. They walked up to the passenger. In my opinion of that is because they saw a black dude in a sports car. That's the side of the car they walked up to until they got to the car and they realized they just pulled over Chris Rock and Jerry Seinfeld. Imagine how stupid you feel after that. That ain't what I wanted to talk about. Just want to tell that story.
Was Jerry Seinfeld driving?
Jerry Seinfeld was driving.
Okay.
And Chris Rock was the passenger. Yeah. They get pulled over, and the police officer walked to the passenger side of the car to discuss why he pulled him over.
I often wondered about that because I've seen it happen. I experienced it happen quite a few times. Where they come over to the passenger side, I'm like, what do I have to do with anything?
What he doing? Yeah.
You driving.
Yeah. Well, my interpretation
of that,
speeding
or something. What I got to do? What do you need my information for?
My interpretation of that was you seen the black dude in the fancy sports car. What are you doing in that car? That was the way I interpreted that. But then again, I'm a race baiter, so who knows? That's how my mind works. Isaiah Washington. Many of us know Isaiah Washington because he's the one who had he got fired from Grey's Anatomy because he said some things that were deemed to be insensitive to gay people, and there was a gay person on the cast at the time. So we know who Isaiah Washington is. He's gotten into some interesting situations based upon his rhetoric and his opinions. But he was on with Don Lemon on the Clown News Network last week. I mean CNN, and they were talking about this. They were talking about Chris Rock, and Isaiah Washington actually tweeted, and he had a couple of comments. I'm going to read them to you. He started out by giving him advice on Twitter, saying, "I sold my $900,000 Mercedes G500 and bought 3 Priuses because I got tired of being pulled over by police."
Yeah.
There is something that is happening in his neighborhood. The police are looking for something. Obviously, they're not looking for Chris Rock. What I was doing was trying to excite a conversation. We are looking at this term driving while black, but maybe we should be looking at the term black itself and have a different conversation. He also stated that he maybe should adapt to the current situation that he lives in. Quote, he needs to look at the area he is in and visit with the local police in the community and question them to why he's being pulled over. I understand that. Don Lemon asked him why the burden should be on Chris Rock. He continues, "We've been burdened for 400 years. We're in a situation where we have to survive in extreme circumstances with people who are angry and those who are practicing white supremacy. They are on the hunt and they are angry. The onus is on us. If we don't survive, we don't live to fight another day." And that is what I was saying by adapt. Reese, what do you think?
I think that was a true statement indeed. You know, it's survival tactics then. We were these people slaves. They're never, ever going to respect us.
What you think, Big Bro? What you think, Big Bro?
I think he's an idiot. You know, it's one of the, I understand his point, but really, dude. So I need to go meet every cop at the precinct just so I don't get pulled over. Come on, man. If the police were doing what they should be doing, then you shouldn't have that problem. However, clearly, some police were not doing. First of all, we don't know why he was pulled, so I kind of got an issue with that. If he was speeding, then that's on you, Chris.
Well, as far as I know, there haven't been any charges. As far as I know, doesn't mean there hasn't been. As far as I know,
but
so
I mean
that speaks to what you just said.
Yeah,
Ruben.
You know, if they're pulling him because he's got an expensive car, he's black, then that should be something easy to be proven in court.
They're automatically going to stereotype you, though, if you're driving an expensive car. 9 times out of 10, depending on what area you're in.
But you know how you stop stuff like that? You know how you stop stuff like that? It's called suing people. When you sue police departments or you sue people who lie on you, then people stop messing with you.
That sounds good, Ruben, but the truth of the matter is just because you got a nice car doesn't mean that you have the resources to be able to sue somebody. You know what I mean? Like, and who wants to go through all of that?
Yeah.
Like, who wants to go through, as Isaiah Washington suggested, going through trying to talk to the community leaders and talk to the police department? Man, forget all that, man. All I'm doing is living my life, man. I'm going to where I'm going from A to B, Rees, and they messing with me. And now this is with Don Lemon, who surprisingly came off as the intelligent one in the discussion. But he's right. The onus is now put on the victim here.
Well, but I guess what I'm saying is, yo, man, they've pulled Chris Rock 3 times in 3 months.
What is he driving?
It just, it's an expensive ass car, but it doesn't matter what he's driving. He hasn't received any tickets.
No,
to our knowledge.
They want to see who you are,
then
and what you are doing.
And you know how to stop that?
If you're driving, you know what I mean. Who is this black man? Like they said in Django, who was that Nword on the horse?
Yeah, but you know how he stopped people saying that? He started shooting people. In this world, if Chris Rock realistically gets to the point where I'm sick of getting stopped all the time, and you're not giving me tickets and yada yada yada, then it's harassment, and that is against the law. The thing about it is, and this is just my personal point, is like, first of all, what's his face is an idiot. Oh, you need to go and let them know, hey, I'm black and I don't want you to stop me, so I'm letting you know who I am and what I drive, and I'm going to trade in my vehicle for 3 Priuses. Okay, that's just stupid.
I'm not doing that shit.
Because you earn the car that you drive.
Exactly.
So for him to even assimilate to that, he's an idiot. Now, And the second part is
See, that's the type of stuff that we don't have time for, man.
exactly.
Exactly.
That's the type of leadership that we don't have time
Exactly.
for.
And see, the thing about that is,
you're going to cow down to them and bow down. We just need to do us, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
That's what we need to do.
and that's what I'm saying. If Chris Rock gets pulled one more time by these police in the same area,
No, forget that, man. That one more time was the second time.
exactly. But and you know
One
what?
more time makes 4.
But you know what? And that's what I'm saying. How do you fight back? You fight back with the rules that have been given to you.
Exactly.
Well, that's true.
You know,
That's true.
and you
It's about
take.
knowing the rules.
But I'd like to know, and the articles that I've researched haven't alluded to it. What are you doing, Chris, other than posting selfies on IG when this is happening to you? Because you, Chris Rock, you know, and one of his most famous skits, you know, one of my favorite Chris Rock lines is when he said to a crowd full of white people, "Now, one of you people in this room would trade places with me, and I'm rich." And you know how Steppin with Marcus J, live from the Den of Legacy Internet Radio. Last thing I want to get to in this segment, because we're getting ready to take a break, and when we come back from our break, we're going to have our special guest, Priscilla Pender, who is the co-founder of Joe Pre Consulting. Then they're going to talk. She's going to talk to us about their soft launch and networking and fashion event on this weekend. So the last thing I want to get into, Reese, I want you up on this one first as well. It's about a cop, a Texas Department of Public Safety trooper, who got into some trouble with his department over the weekend because he took a photograph with Snoop Dogg. That's right. I wanted that awkward. I wanted that awkward pause. Let me give it to you. Trooper Billy Spears was working in a festival when Snoop asked him for a picture with him. After the image appeared on the rapper's Instagram with the caption, "Me and my deputy dog," Spears was, according to his lawyer, disciplined and told to go to counseling. The reason behind the discipline?
He was disciplined and told to go to counseling.
The reason behind the discipline, yes, sir.
Told to go to counseling.
Let me finish. I love it. Your body language is what I want. The reason behind the discipline. You think you fired up now? Wait till you hear this. Troopers are not supposed to have meaningful interactions with known criminals. Quote, Spears took a photo with a public figure who is a well-known criminal background, including numerous drug charges. The public figure posted the photo on social media, and it reflects poorly on the agency. This is what it says, and it's on his permanent record. In response to Spears' claim that Snoop was one who wanted the picture, the department said that people should, quote, use good judgment when taking photos with anyone while in uniform, be mindful of social media outlets and how such photos can negatively affect the agency. A spokeswoman for the department denied that an official reprimand took place, saying, quote, APD currently has a policy that states that officers cannot have relationships with or associate with known criminals. Our officers taking a photo with the musician Snoop Dogg is not a violation of this policy because it does not rise to the level of inappropriate association. Sounds a little bit contradictory to me. All right, Reese, I know I cut you. I wanted to get it all the way out. My brother.
That was a slap in the face to the ideals of the people he hold that position for. You know, to see him idolize that black man that much, to step out and take that picture with him, that was like sleeping with the enemy. Look at him.
I'm showing the picture.
Look at him.
I'm showing the picture.
He is a redneck.
I'm showing the picture to the crew right now.
He has called so many people so many N-words and, you know, probably bust a few upside their head a few times.
I mean,
but he loves Snoop Dogg.
To look at the picture, you see what appears to be an average-looking white man with Snoop Dogg.
Not even like a southern-looking white man.
There's some that would
trooper.
There are some that would take issue with the stereotypical speech, but I don't really care about that because they don't look at Snoop and they're gonna feel the same kind of way about looking at him. But the truth of the matter is, the guy looks like he might even have a little snuff in his mouth right there.
Exactly.
But, I mean, but he looks like the average 40s white dude, and he does not look in distress. He looks like, hey, I'm just taking this picture.
I didn't realize Snoop had a criminal record. Snoop's never been in jail.
He has a record of a regular.
He got stuff on him. He's not all clean. We're not gonna play that game.
Well, I didn't know.
Murder was the case that they gave.
that was biographical.
Yeah, but he was innocent.
Yeah, he
innocent.
was found
he got
out.
acquitted.
He got acquitted of it.
I mean, so real. I don't think unless he got some marijuana stuff, what I'm not sure about.
I mean, I don't know his rap sheet, but I
think that's a
But
cop out.
Snoop Dogg just automatically just represents black people.
Yeah, I mean,
and we've been criminalized
Yeah.
for so long. We are the criminal that he's actually talking about.
Martha Stewart did more jail time than Snoop Dogg.
yeah.
Yeah, she did.
I mean, so I don't even understand that. To me, that's a cop out. That's the excuse. That's just it's Texas, man. That's just it's Texas.
Nah, I can dig it. Ain't
You
no,
know.
ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Live from the Den, Legacy Internet Radio. We're gonna take our first break of the night. When we come back, we're gonna introduce the co-host who just walked in the door, and we also gonna talk to Priscilla Pender, who is the co-founder of Joe Pre Consulting LLC. The soft launch and networking and fashion event is coming up this weekend in East Orange, New Jersey, and she is going to tell us about it. We got a word from our sponsor, and when we come back, we're going to have Priscilla Pender. I got Reeves, Big Rube, and the co-host who just walked in. Ain't no half step with Marcus J. Be back in about 5 minutes.